Hey there everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on Ravenak's Gnashing Jaws. I'm going to be honest, I've driven this around the desk a few times. Full disclosure. Looking forward to painting this model. You'll see obviously I've got them separated from the base because I want to be able to get into all the nooks and crannies that are kind of existing on the inside of the model. And so I'll just be doing the base kind of separate, and then I'll be gluing the model to the base when it's all done. So looking forward to seeing this guy painted up. Actually, it's going to be kind of cool. I'm going to go with some decent, kind of greens. It's very orky in its nature, but I want, instead of it being all kind of one similar color, I want it to be very kind of bony up at the front with the teeth and all that. Maybe use some blood for the blood god in there to make it nice and gruesome. But it should be nice, clean, easy, fun model to do. And oh man, it'll be a quick one to do for sure. So I'm going to get them all primed up in Corax White, so we have those nice bright colors. And we'll be right back to it. Alright, so we've got our Gnashing Jaws of the Ravenak, the Gnashing Jaws. We got them all primed up in Corax White, and the next step is going to be pretty simple because all of our stuff is going to be kind of based on that kind of bone type tone. We're going to do the jaws and kind of the bone, but I want to do this kind of greenish, kind of sickly, or maybe kind of orky kind of, power coming off. But we're going to still base everything inside of Screaming Skull, just kind of a, just a general nice kind of color to start with. It's a little warm, and we do all kinds of stuff with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take like a thin down version of this here, and I'm just going to go in and make sure I get in all the nooks and crannies. If you need 2 coats, that's totally cool, but make sure that you got nice decent coverage over everything. This might be a little too thin actually. Anyways, I'll keep going with this until I get the coverage that I'm looking for. I'll let it all dry, and then we'll come back for the easy wash. Okay, so we've got the Screaming Skull kind of all set out, and it's got that nice kind of bone color to it. I did a couple light coats. I just wanted that nice kind of warm back end to all the coloring that we're going to be doing on. Now, there's 2 segments to this model now, and this is actually the pretty easy part. You can see that we've got this, kind of the jaw itself, the main kind of maw, and then we've got these lines of magical force kind of coming off as it's running through the air. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade now those magical kind of lines of force with a Thonian camo shade, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how this looks. Like it's going to be pretty sweet. We've got that nice warm depth. Now the plan for me here is I'm going to cut the camo shade with about 50% water. So I can do that a couple different ways. One, I might build up a little bit in my palette here, which is fine, and then I'll pull a little bit of the camo shade into here. So about 3 brushes worth on each. Okay. And what I'll do is I'm going to hold it up vertically like this, because if it gets darker at all from the wash, I want it trailing kind of behind, like it's moving at speed. So I'll just take this in here, and I'll make sure that I don't get too much in the way of pooling. I just want a nice kind of gradual shade as we move down. So I'll go over the whole kind of lines of force doing this vertical thing. But again, I'm going to cut it with about 50% water, and then we'll come back and hit it again. So we want to make sure we're leaving just all little bits of depth in there, but we don't want like this serious pooling in there as well. So just loads of color. You can kind of play with it as you go, and just make sure it kind of matches your vision for what you want for the model. Okay, so I went ahead and did basically 2 coats of that watered down Athonian camo shade, and I really like the look and feel of it. Now I want a bit of a darkness kind of going into the back, so I'm going to take Athonian camo shade again, and instead of watering it down this time, I'm going to apply it directly to kind of the back third of each of the effects. So if you have a flame effect that's about this long, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in again on that back third with the pure camo shade, kind of making sure that it's a little bit darker towards the ends. Now if you get something that's a little bit shorter like this, then I'll just want to do kind of the third of that kind of loosely. Okay, so I've let that all dry, and now you can see that we've got this awesome kind of gradation between, a little bit lighter and then a little bit darker as we kind of work our way back. And that's the joy of using that wash, that medium, and then being able to just kind of just see how it just, really nicely flows backward like that. So to tidy it all up now, we're going to take our Screaming Skull again. And the plan here is to get the rattiest, kind of messiest brush that you can find. And I'm just going to... It's almost a dry brush, but it's just going to get a little bit on my my brush here. And I'm going to take my palette and just kind of smooth it out. And not quite to the point where you've got a dry brush, but it's going to be just a little bit of a wet brush. And what I'm going to do is now streak backwards like this. And you'll see it just picks up the edge. It's almost like a dry brush, but it's a bit of a wet brush there. So we're just going to add a little bit of pop to bring that back up again, so we see all those cool lines of force. All right, so just nice and gentle, just kind of draw it down. Okay, so fail. I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna just do these kind of like huge gums and like and all this, and epically bad looking. Look at that, it's horrible. So obviously sometimes things don't entirely work out. So I'm gonna go back to another plan here. I like the tone of the kind of bone color in here. So instead of doing this, to be frank, let's call it a shit show. Instead of doing this shit show here, I'm going to go back over top of this with the Screaming Skull over the red. And so basically dodging all those kind of lines of force, we're going to go back in here and we're just going to touch up away just kind of that green that we had from the camo shade there. And I'm just going to leave those little lines of force in there, and I'm going to redo this all in I can't even pick up the thing, in Screaming Skull here. So yeah, I'm what the hell is this? It's horrible. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna top this back up with Screaming Skull. Okay, so a little bit of a model fail / recovery there, and it looks like going back to the bone color of the Screaming Skull was the way to go. I also took the opportunity to tidy up any kind of extra blotches that have gone over, and I just want to make sure that we've got those jaws just as this kind of bony color, and I think that is much more the same kind of color range spectrum that we're looking for anyway. So I'm going to wash the bone color now, and I'm going to do that with a custom wash. This is a wash I use for pretty much everything, like everything, and it's got a bit of brown, a bit of black, and it's awesome. So it's 25% Nuln Oil, 25% Agrax Earthshade, and the last 50% of that is regular, everywhere, anywhere you can find kind of floor wax, like a future floor wax type thing. Just grab it, anything cheapy from anywhere. Now, what I like about the floor wax is it really does add a significant amount of flow to the two different washes, so they're not as gummy for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply this inside and out, just kind of tucking into all the corners there, making sure I kind of darken up all those corners, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 45 minutes or so. Just make sure it's nice and dry and not tacky. One of the other things I want to look at as well is if you look at up here, that first kind of hole on either side, it's almost like an eye, right? So what I might do is I might just, if I have a spot where I don't have a lot of kind of wash on my brush, I might just wring out that eye, just to draw just a little bit of extra attention kind of to that eye. Just a very subtle kind of extra shade on it. And there we go. So already we can see that it's starting to settle in nice. It gets into all the cracks and crevices there. So I will go ahead and I will wash over all of the now completely bone bits here. Okay, so the wash is all just kind of settled in now. It's all dried up. It's getting a little dry on this side, but you can see where it really kind of lets the the detail kind of pop out. Even at the gum line here, you can see there's still a little bit of natural highlight that comes as a result of that. So I love having that floor wax in there. It really just kind of evens things out a little bit. A little mucky up here, but that's fine. We're just going to paint over top of it anyhow. But we just want to get that nice kind of gradiated shading. Now we are painting bone essentially in here, and the key thing to remember about bone is that it is porous. So we're going to paint in kind of a streaky fashion. We're going to use Screaming Skull and just that same color that we've had all along. And what I'm going to do now is just paint in those streaks, those striations, those series of parallel lines. So let's just start with that. So I'm just going to start on the absolute highlights first, kind of the highest parts here, and then you know, these kind of raised elements that are in here, and any of the pieces that we run into, we're just going to kind of just keep doing these streaks here, these bands, and you can see it gives us back a little bit of texture there, and we can keep playing as we go. Now for the teeth, we can do the same thing. What I'll do, or let's look at the gum line down here. So you'll see that there's not a lot of texture on the actual gums themselves. So what I'm going to do is just do like a little streak on the kind of the highlights there, leaving all those lowlights, that little bit of shade underneath. But you'll see even as I apply, this guy's a little bit frayed, which is kind of nice. I'm just going to get these little streaky kind of lines over each tooth. All right. So I'll keep plugging away at that, how I like that. And then finally, I'll take my dry brush. And we're talking the rattiest of the ratty brushes you can find here. This guy's been well loved for sure. And I'm just going to dry brush really lightly over the teeth. But again, I'm just going to do it in kind of a vertical motion. So just like this. Now the dry brushing is nice because it doesn't go into those cracks and crevices up there. You do run a little bit of a risk of getting in there because you're kind of going up at the same time. So you can always go across as well if you want to do that. So I'm just going to go over the teeth just really lightly with a dry brush. I'm going to build that up slowly as I go. So nice streaky details on the gums, and then we'll dry brush the teeth from the side and then vertically when it comes to the edges. And we get a nice kind of gradiated effect. We want to make sure that we preserve as much of that as possible. And as this dries, I might come in and just keep touching it up. But you'll see wherever there's like a low light or a little dip, I'm going to make sure that that stays in place. All right, so I've got the dry brushing all done on the teeth there, and you can see it's just about building up kind of nice successive layers. Now, if you, down here at the bottom, it worked out pretty well, but at the top you can see I got into a few, I got a little bit too much into the crevices there. So what I'm going to do is just go back with my wash again, and we can just kind of tidy up any things that we missed. Now, on the sides, you'll see that I've got that kind of nice stripy kind of striations. Here it's nice and rough as well, which is exactly what you're looking for, because bone is not very solid, it's more porous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same wash that I used on the jaws before, and I'm just going to take a bit of that, and I'm going to essentially pin wash inside of here again. So maybe an extra little bit of water in there, and all I'm going to do is just shaden up, if that's a term, just kind of throw a bit of extra shade, no pun intended, into these creases again, just to kind of even things up a little bit. And then on the teeth, I can always just do a pass, maybe around the bottom, to give them that truly, not maintained kind of look to them. I'm sure that the oral hygienist is going to give this spell grief for not flossing for sure. So all we're going to do is just kind of restore a little bit of that depth back into that, into those recesses and crevices, just if we went a little over the top. And another thing I'll do as well is around the outer edge, if I want to just kind of pop out that detail, I'll just do a little bit of a shade in there, just to kind of bring that back out again, to pop that back out. Alright, so I'll keep working along. I'll just fill in the last little bits of shades here, and then we'll come back and do some kind of gory, maybe some blood effects here, just to kind of give that true kind of vicious impression. Alright, so we've got that wash kind of all settled in there now. We got this nice kind of sinewy kind of look. It looks like this grubby bone, very not well maintained on these jaws. But we've got this cool kind of energy coming off the back, and it's all in the same tonal range. So, I mean, the model's essentially done. But this guy is, like, the spell is just this monstrous jaw. These gaping, teeth running across the field, chewing people up, very orky style. So I thought I'd add just a little bit of extra gore and contrast, because we have such a visceral connection to, kind of blood and teeth and these big, massive mouths. I thought what I would do is just apply I was going to say a little bit, but maybe a load of blood for the blood god onto those teeth. Now, I try not to overdo the blood effects. Like, I know they can end up on swords and they can end up all over the place. But what I want to do is I just want to have this one time have these teeth just be these horrid, kind of rendition, rendering of people as it kind of rolls across the field. So you're going to take the kind of the biggest brush that you've got, either whether it's super ratty or not. And you're going to start with the teeth, where the teeth kind of get chewed on, and we could leave it there, but then it'll look a little silly. So we're going to start with those teeth first, and you'll see that I'm rotating as I go to get kind of a different effect. But what I want is I want this splattering of blood kind of all over the place. So I want them to get chewed on the back teeth here, on these back molars, and I'm just going to do this a couple times and just kind of build it up as we go. But the rotation is kind of the important part. That's how you get all that kind of extra little splattery bits. So looking deep and gruesome, awesome. Very kind of Mouth of Sauron, actually, from the Lord of the Rings movies. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going in here. Now, if you keep going in, you can actually build it up, and it looks pretty gross and messy and all that. So maybe I'll just do 2 passes on the teeth here, making sure that I get kind of all over this gaping maw here. Yeah. Bloody and gross and awesome. I might do more, I might do less. I don't know. I'm going to let it dry and then I'll figure it out. And if you want, one of the things, actually, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit more. And I'm just going to do more of a direct application to the bigger teeth. Just because I want that kind of dripping down on those teeth. And you can do the inside as well, but again, remember, this is just a template, so it's essentially a spell template. So for now, I'm just going to kind of stick with this, I think. And I'll do a little bit on the inside too. What the heck? Alright, so I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to come back and, oh yeah, and the inside too. No one's going to see that, to be honest. But I'm going to let this sit, and I'm going to mount this on the base. And yeah, we'll see how he looks. This is this big, ripping, gaping maw. Love it. Awesome. Terrifying. Sweet. And with the bloody face, we are done. This thing is gruesome and evil and horrible, and I love it. Just the way that this kind of energy kind of flows off, just the way they've designed this, kind of all the nooks and crannies, it really looks like this thing is like this flowing, angry piece of energy, which is, kind of given away by the kind of the bloody teeth, whatever. But, and normally, like I said, I'm not a big fan of, like, bloody teeth and stuff everywhere. But this thing is a big, gnashing, jaw thing, like, rolling across the field. So, I don't mind it at all. And that's it. Like, it's a great model. Like, lots of fun. I even think, like, doing that little bit of darkening around the eyes there. The quote, eyes. I think that did, like, just kind of a nice job of just kind of drawing your attention to it looks like it's actually got eyes. It just pulls your eye in just a little bit there. But, yeah, again, it's just this moving template, really. So it's, it could be a piece of paper or a card or whatever. But, man, what a great way to kind of do this. So that's it for this guy. Really excited to see him on the field, which will be awesome. And, yeah, no, if you like the video, guys, hit that like button. If you dislike the video, dislike button's right there, obviously. But if you want to get more videos like this, feel free to jab that subscribe button. And then there's the little notification bell there as well. And you get notifications of all of our future videos. And hope you enjoyed it, guys. It was this guy was a lot of fun to put together. It was really good. A little bit of a bone up with the red on the gums there, but I kind of like the way it turned out ultimately. It's that nice same kind of color gradient there. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.